Good.
All right. Let's get going. My name's Nate Manahan. We're here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we are talking about decoding the mysterious process that is a visa violation letter that may be coming to your merchants, but probably not, because this is happening all the time. We've seen a handful of letters, and we wanted to walk you through it. So, Danny Shard, let's start with this. This letter that we're talking about, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen if I do all my tools right here. Example, and I will actually, if somebody emails me, I have taken all the identifying information and de-identified it. But this letter that we're talking about, why does Visa send out violation letters? And it's really not even Visa sending it. Visa is sending a letter to the processor, in our case, EPX in our case, in the compliance department, and then a letter's coming on behalf of them. Can you kind of explain what this letter is that we're talking about?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And just to, clarify a little bit more, I think all of us know, through the multiple videos that Nate and I have done over the last couple of years, even, the what was once cash discount has evolved into dual pricing. I kind of refer to them as fee offset programs at this point, right? Because now there's more of a defined variety of ways that you can do this. And at the end of the day, it's evolved, and the card brands have kind of, laid the line in the sand of what's expected for merchants to do and what they're not gonna put up with. So, just in the last few months, we've started to see a little bit of this pick up, where merchants are getting contacted, receiving letters. Like Nate said, we're not receiving waves, but we've gotten enough to prompt us to, let's have a conversation with our partners. Let's kind of educate everybody, let them know, hey, this is out there, what to expect, kind of how to respond, and that kind of thing. So, like the letter that Nate's going to show, this is what merchants are going to receive from our violations department. And violations is a scary word, right? Violations. Oh my gosh. And that's just the department that handles the communications from the card brands. And so the violations department is going to basically notify the merchant that they've been targeted and identified as doing one of five things, right? That letter's going to say, they're surcharging on a debit card without registration. I can't remember all five things,
Yeah.
Nate, but I mean, it's going to list all the options there, basically in all the different reasons why they would say that a merchant's not compliant.
Yep.
And they're going to send them a DocuSign that's going to require them to do it. But the letter is really intended to shake the tree, kind of shake the merchant up a little bit, make them aware that, hey, we've identified your business and we need you to make some changes to it.
And I was working on trying to get it so zoomed in because I was like, man, this letter is way too small here.
That
So
looks a
I
little
think
bit better.
that's a little better. And now I, I,
Yeah.
I figured out how I can actually zoom in on this. I had to figure it out. So, but the first thing I thought when I saw this letter, Danny, is I was like, one of the things you have to watch for is these letters are very generic, and my first thing, like, it's addressed "Dear Merchant," and
How easy is it to skip over?
yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah,
I go through my emails every day and delete
yeah,
spam that filters in.
yeah. Because when you have an email, it just simply says "Dear Merchant," it comes from violations of payments, and part of this is because in our world we we talk to your merchants under the gray label, which is payments hub, and so it doesn't come saying it's from EPX. It mentions that it's coming on behalf of Visa, but I think for most merchants, how often, and again, I'm reminding everybody, this is a handful. It doesn't even register as a percent. Like, there's not even a percentage or a tenth of a percentage of all of our merchants doing Edge and all these programs that these letters are coming, but we're seeing enough that we're talking through several partners through it and walking their merchants through it. I'm going to guess several of these letters have been missed of the few letters that we've had so far. Is that right?
It is. I mean, our violations team is willing to work with merchants too because they also get that. And something that I've been lobbying for, and I think we're going to start to see here in the next 30 days or so, is our violations team finally including our sales partner in these communications. Right, that's the biggest thing. Is our sales partners. The majority of you are talking with your merchants, have great relationships with your merchants, and are ready to address these things head on for your merchants when they come. It's always a little backsided whenever you hear from your merchant about a violation that they received. So we understand that, and we want you to kind of be on the inside just as much as the merchant is. And most of the time, you bringing it to the merchant's attention, I think, actually has a softer way of approaching it because these businesses, I mean, they get shook up quite easily, right? So if you're able to be notified, most of the time these merchants are busy running their restaurant, running their retail business, they're not checking their email as often as we are. So if you're able to bring it to their attention and with a game plan behind it, that's ideal. So I think we're going to start seeing that here pretty soon too.
All right, so let's. I'll bring the letter up again. Just look. This is the five things. I think you can more clearly read it here. This particular letter. And this letter came on May 1st, and they have to respond by May 30th. And generally, Danny, as these are the five things they're saying, but they're playing around with this word that we now have multiple definitions on in surcharge. A surcharge was applied to a
Mm-hmm.
debit transaction. And most of our partners are not using traditional surcharging programs. I don't know if do you want to define surcharging versus dual pricing, or like of those five things, anything you want to highlight on those five things there, Danny?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so the surcharging, I mean, we got to be clear, right? So Visa actually no longer requires registration for surcharging, but the remaining three card brands do. So there's the registration that's going to be required for them to actually be approved and I guess be identified as a true surcharge merchant is that they've got the proper registrations done. They're only doing it on credit cards only, so it doesn't apply to a debit card, whether it's ran as credit or debit. So that means the terminal that they're using has to have surcharge set up where it identifies the bin range of the card type and doesn't apply the surcharge on those debit cards. Capped out at 3%, right? There's a lot of specific, and they've got specific surcharge pricing, and there has to be a line item on the receipt. There's a lot of specifics with surcharging. I happen to think surcharging is kind of messy,
Yep.
right? At the end of the day, a lot of times merchants aren't able to cover all their costs. Obviously, they're not with the debit cards that are accepted in their business. And also, what are they able to do from a reconciliation standpoint at the end of the month, right? It's kind of messy from an accounting perspective to say, well, what am I actually saving here? And I'm only applying it to these transactions. A lot of merchants really don't like the idea of a true surcharge program when you get into the meat of it. Back on that list, Nate, really quick, something that stands out to me that I think we want to address too is number 5. A fee was added to a purchase where the disclosed price was claimed to be already discounted for cash. This is how cash discount programs, and frankly, our program initially back in 2017 was rolled out to everybody. And what the majority of our competitors are even still doing today with signage that says prices reflect the cash price, right? We did that forever. And you know what? That's because that's what we knew to be correct because there was no definition of any of this, right? And so it worked for a long time. And some of the things that I've been saying to merchants and to partners as well that I won't charge you if you use it is Visa changed the rules in the middle of the game, which is true, right? A lot of us have been doing this for 7-8 years, and just in the last year and a half, they're really coming out and making it clearly defined what's accepted and what's not. I like that, right? I want us to know kind of where we're at in this and kind of stop operating under this gray area all the time. And now that we've got that more defined, reason from Visa, what they want to see and what not to see, that's when it's our time to act and understand it and understand what to do whenever we have a merchant that might be operating under a previous program and how to address it if they're contacted so we can get them correctly processing and compliant by Visa standards.
So Danny, let's talk about specifically what this process looks like today. Right now, our hope is that we're going to be able to let the partners know ahead of time that they can be part of the process of letting the merchant know what's going on. But right now, this letter is getting emailed to the merchant. The merchant's hopefully seeing this letter, sometimes a little slow because it just looks like maybe it wasn't from anyone that they'd ever seen an email from. And they're told to respond. And I'll bring up the DocuSign that's sent in a second email and that they're told to respond. If the partner gets a phone call and says, hey, my merchant just got a letter, let's talk about what should be their first response. What should they do and how should they loop us in?
Yeah, I mean, the response is obviously, hey, sorry to hear that, but that's we'll be able to get you cleaned up, right? So, I think the first and foremost, and it's the Brian Linke rule number 1, don't panic. It's very, very simple. We've got a roadmap and options for merchants to adjust if they are targeted as being one of these merchants that are showing the cash price and marking it up whenever it's a card at the point of purchase. So they haven't implemented a dual pricing program or increased prices and offered a discount for cash program or anything like that. I'm even seeing in some states where merchants are just adding a sign, to say 4% applied to all sales. Now that doesn't fly in New York. I know Dave O's on here. He knows the state. New York, California, and I think it's Pennsylvania. But it doesn't apply in those states, right? Because that's what you see is what you pay kind of thing. And I think most states are going to, and that is not what I'm going to suggest as a long-term solution, but as a temporary solution and, a quick implementation, that can be an option for some merchants too. So making sure you're aware of how the merchant's set up and what options they've got, because obviously these merchants not only want to get freaked out about receiving a violation and paying $1,000, they also now are used to saving this amount of money every month, right? Paying a credit card bill at the end of the month or a payment processing bill at the end of the month is no longer in their budget, right? That's been eliminated by you for however long that you've had them. So going back to traditional pricing in most cases just is not going to be an option, which is good for us, right? We don't necessarily want them to go back to traditional pricing, but we need them to make some adjustments. And so that's whenever you're going to give them the options, right? We can move you to a standard surcharge program. Here's the positives and negatives. We can move you to a true cash discount program or our Edge program, which, we really encourage and we think it creates the better customer experience as a true dual pricing program. Having both prices listed on the shelves, on the menus, makes it very easy and very transparent. And that's what the card brands want to see too.
So I can imagine, and we will take questions.
Thank you.
We will take questions here in a second, but I'm gonna try to guess a few of our questions at this point that our partners have. So we saw in the letter that Visa is saying that they're going to charge a non-compliance fee of $1,000. What does that look like? Are we paying that? Who's paying that? What are the options? When does that get paid? What are the things that we're seeing when we see this letter and Visa's like, hey, we're charging you $1,000?
Yeah. So the $1,000 is kind of their standard thing, which, I'll argue all day with Rob from Visa that it's the wrong thing to do to small and medium businesses. First contact, the threat of getting $1,000 fine for potentially not doing this correct, is a hefty price to pay. And I think their point is to not just penalize merchants, but more or less penalize us, right? And the processors and the ISOs that have been setting up these programs for not doing it right. Well, I think that's that's a hefty price to pay considering how long these programs have been going, and what the price point is to do that going backwards type of cleanup. That being said, that's my personal opinion on that. But the $1,000 fine is something that they're saying possible. So we've had, I would say, probably 30% of the accounts that we've seen that have received these violations that have not gotten the fine. So whether that be with the speed of the response and the update that the merchant made and how clear and concise and compliant that it is, or if it's just Visa having a good day or not. We have not been able to put our finger on when Visa is going to charge us and when they're not going to. But the ones that we have been able to not get charged, they've been credited back. So what happens is initially when the merchant receives these violations, our team's going to put them on a 25% reserve to get to that $1,000 fine because it's most likely going to be charged by Visa. So we're going to hold the $1,000 through a 25% reserve until that's accumulated. And then once Visa, makes its final ruling, the merchant completes the DocuSign that we'll show you here in a second. They're going to make their ruling on if they get charged a fine or not. And if they get charged the fine, then it's just going to apply and the merchant's now fixed moving forward. And if they don't, then we credit back the merchant.
Yeah, and these are things that are somewhat, it's a moving target, and we don't really know. And again, we'll reiterate this multiple times. This is not a call to arms that we're seeing hundreds of these letters. This is a handful. It's not every merchant. It's enough that we just need to know how to handle it, and we need to make sure that we're setting up all new accounts in the best way possible. Now, Danny, I would say this. I wonder, or would you agree with this? Of the ones that I've seen, I've watched, it's usually the merchant going against advice of what the agent has set them out and doing something outside of what they were told to. And like I was involved in one where I saw it actually been to the restaurant. I took a picture and sent it to the agent and said, they've got to sign up, not like they were told not to. And I took, and happened to be at the restaurant, and it's them going and doing something outside of what they're told. Would you agree with that?
And I would say that that's happening more than we even know about. And most of these violations are because of that, not even necessarily about the program that we've educated the merchant with and put out there. So, something that we have to also remember too, right? As we're consultants. Merchants still have a responsibility to move forward with the programs that we tell them to. If they feel that they're going to have a better customer experience, or it's just easier for them and their staff to do it a different way, they're going to do what they're going to do. And if that's not compliant and they're just doing that, naively, they're going to pay the price for it. And I want to openly say that there have been plenty of situations over the last couple of years as we've seen these violations start to come in little by little, that the account, we all know these dual pricing merchants are making us far more revenue than your traditional pricing merchants. There have been plenty of situations where PPT has reimbursed or split the cost of these fines with our partners. We know the impact, again, that it has on these SMBs. We don't want to lose a deal because of something like this happening and Visa issuing a fine. And at the end of the day, too, that's the program that we implemented, and the merchant has been doing this all along. So, I think in a lot of ways it's the right thing to do, but also it's kind of silly to watch a merchant that's making, $200 or $300 or even more per month, get jaded about us or anything like that over a fine. So these are things that we're always going to be flexible and work with our partners with. So if you get contacted, which honestly, most of you on this call, I don't expect you to hear anything from any of your merchants. But if you do, and you're not sure, give us a call. Otherwise, just take these steps. Don't panic. Remember what's going to happen and what options the merchant has, and we can help them get it all cleaned up.
Perfect. And we'll get to a lot more questions here soon. Let me bring up we had mentioned that it comes in 2 emails, and they get a DocuSign email. And this is a screenshot of that DocuSign where they get to respond back to Visa about what they're doing. And you can see it's a surcharging violation response form in this case, where they're asking, if your state that does not allow surcharging, it's kind of a vague, because it's a one size fits all document that they can send to any merchant and confuse any merchant. Dan, anything you want to highlight on this, or you want me to zoom in on?
Yeah, if you could zoom in just so everybody can see. I mean, again, with the majority of the programs short of surcharging, right? Whether there's no option here that the merchant's doing dual pricing. But in both sections, there's an option that says a customer is offered a discount for cash payment at the time of the sale. That's always going to be the option that the merchant's going to select. I've had a lot of conversations with partners that have gone through this or that have wanted to get ahead of this. So we reviewed this before. And this is always going to be the answer, whether they're doing dual pricing or they're increasing their price and doing a true cash discount, or they're just saying a fee applies to all that. That's really how they want to answer this, so they can get through this process and respond to Visa. This is time sensitive too. So we got to respond to Visa. We got to make sure that what we say we're going to do is implemented. And then because Visa is going to follow up in 30 to 60 days. Like, that's the thing. Once you get on their radar, we've got to make sure we do it the right way. We've had one merchant in the last, several years, that since Visa started doing this, that received the tier 2 fine, like a second level fine. And that's because they simply didn't respond. And when they did, they didn't make the change. So they paid the price for it.
And we have to remember, Danny, they're like, all this says a surcharging response. Visa is always seeing this as usually a violation of their surcharge that you were not doing because they were doing something that they didn't identify it as that there were 2 prices listed, or that
Right.
the highest price and there was a discount provided. And so something was done by the merchant to make them say, oh, this must be a surcharge program and you're not doing it right. That's why that surcharge is thrown out there, even though they were never suspended to. And usually it's something to do with signage or something to do with the fact that they maybe didn't do all the dual prices on their menu, or at the point at the actual on the sorry, can't even come up with the word.
Yeah.
Point of sale. There's something they were probably doing, and so Visa just throws out that word surcharge, which then probably confuses. That's why it's important for you to be listening to your merchant, because it probably confuses them even more, because that word surcharging, it's being thrown all over. California's trying to confuse us all by that word of surcharge. Everybody's got their own definition. Visa has their definition, but that word is being used by states. It's not helpful at this point. It's just confusing, and that's why we're here to try to help. And like we said, most of you won't get these letters.
That's right. They get lumped into a bucket, and all of them are thrown into it, right? Yeah. And so, making sure that when the merchant reaches out to you, and hopefully here soon, you guys are going to get. You guys are going to start receiving these notifications if your merchant gets contacted at all. Yep. But, whenever the merchant reaches out to you and says, hey, I'm not surcharging, you're like, I know, you're right, but this is how Visa views it, right? And it's a big bundle, and they just throw it all into the same mix. And let's be clear, too. I mean, for the longest time, our cash discount programs, when they first started, they were kind of taken off of surcharging programs, right? Caps at 4% and this and that. Signage, all these things that, we basically took from surcharging and tweaked a little bit and called it a gray area, right? And, we were able to do that because there was a lot of unknown, and we took advantage of it. And now Visa is, again, they've made their point. They know exactly how the program should be ran. And I think that's good for all of us, because now we can set our merchants up correctly, and there's no more guessing games. And Jordan, I see you, asking on here, is this an opportunity? Is this a sales opportunity? And you're absolutely right. It is, right? Identifying merchants that are still doing it the old way, or like Nate just said, how many merchants have just decided to implement their own program, right? Add a sign that says 4% applied to all sale or all credit card transactions. Know these things, be able to identify them and know that they're not compliant, and be able to show merchants, we can even send you a generic template of what this letter looks like, or this email. So you can show merchants, hey, this is a real thing, right? I mean, you can be fined for what you're doing. Let my team and my company come in and help you do it the right way, and you can still eliminate your processing fees. So it's absolutely a sales opportunity. But keep in mind too, if you have been with us for many, many years, you may still have some merchants that are set up with an old program, and your merchants may be a target. So just something to be aware of. This is starting to, I don't want to say, happen more and more, but we've seen it, right? And I don't expect Visa to be able to penetrate more than 2% of the market. Not saying that we don't need to get our merchants compliant, but just to say that no reason to panic here. We just want to make sure everybody's educated and aware of what's going on and how this works.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there's several people asking, and Karen said this is a customer complaint form on the internet. There is Visa. If you Google surcharging, it's like the third thing that
Yep.
pops up. At least in my Google searches of the form, you can just complain against how Visa transactions were misproperly handled. But most of these are happening maybe by a complaint, but the letter comes saying that a secret shopper has actually shown up. And we don't know where that starts and why the secret shopper was sent to that particular location. We have some theories sometimes, but Danny, can you kind of walk us through what we know about secret shoppers?
Yeah, they're paid to go out and find merchants that are doing anything wrong. Which, if anybody can find that job application, I think some of us doing a part-time gig as a secret shopper would be a pretty cool deal. You'd be able to go buy product anywhere you wanted, and try to find out if merchants are surcharging incorrectly or doing anything like that. So, we haven't been able to put our finger on it. Some I think. Some markets we're seeing in others. Like we've seen a decent amount in New York, a little bit in Texas, and we've seen some sprinkled around, but it's not, again, like it's not a big wave. It's kind of all over the place, and there's no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, our goal, Danny, is to set them up correctly from the beginning. We have
Yep.
some merchants that have been with us for a long time that maybe we need to revisit. What would be your, if a partner is sitting here and saying, "Oh no, I've got these 30 merchants, I've got to go change everything tomorrow," or what should their response be, or as proactive if they want to help their current merchants they've been doing? They set somebody up 5 years ago and they're still sitting on a, I don't know, what's one of our earliest devices? I think one of the a Z8 Deja Vu, one of
Yeah.
our early, something
Yep.
that was one of our early devices doing this. What would be your suggestion and encouragement for those partners?
That's a great question, and I think that's probably what all of you with portfolios, of 10, 20, 30, 50 or more merchants are really kind of thinking right now. One of our most loyal partners who's been doing this for a long time and more educated partners on the topic, David, he I think takes the best approach on this. I know he's listening, so he'll comment if I say anything incorrectly, but I'm 99% sure I know what he's doing. He's taking his merchants into small amounts and notifying each of them, say 5 merchants in a week, and notify each of them. And he's got a really good email that he's put together educating on what's happening and what to expect if they were to be contacted. And if they'd like to contact him to make any updates to their program, he's happy to help. I love that approach. You're educating merchants, you're calling to follow up with them. So, and he's got several hundred merchants, right? So, I mean, it's as you start to look at a portfolio of that size or higher, it's tough to think about how can I even manage this, right? Well, you got to do it in small chunks, and you got to be proactive. I think education is key. Making merchants aware of it is the most important thing that we can do as consultants and partners to merchants, right? Is make sure they know that Visa's updated their policies. Here's what to expect. Here's what you probably want to do, but we'd encourage you to adjust and make the necessary changes to avoid this happening. And I think education, and not basically instilling fear, right? But reaching out, educating merchants, because if you don't, somebody will. And if you can do it proactively in small chunks, starting with an email notification, a follow-up call, reach out to merchants, just have the conversation. It can be something that can really benefit you long term and more or less bulletproof your portfolio when it comes to programs like this, right? Because you're taking the time to do it. If you don't, somebody else will, and somebody else will come in, just like we were talking about before with a sales opportunity, to correct the way that they're doing it today. I want to make a few, and Nate, I don't know if you're going to get into some of the equipment, but I want to make a few statements. I'm seeing some comments on dual pricing, devices, hardware. We've got to be clear, guys. Dual pricing hardware, whether it's Pay Anywhere on the PAX devices, Valor, Deja Vu, all of our POS systems, right? Any of the customer-facing devices, the POSs are built in with dual pricing, so they'll see a card price and a cash price, or a list price, excuse me, and a cash price on the receipt whenever they're paying at a restaurant. These are all meant for consumer transparency, right? And to make a really good customer experience. In no way, shape, or form is the POS system being dual pricing making the merchant compliant. It does not. What makes the merchant compliant is updating their pricing on their menus, on their shelves, and now having it on the POS in the terminal just carries that over, right? Makes it that much of a better experience. But having a price, for example, of a cash price on the shelf and on the menu, and then showing dual pricing on the terminal does not make the merchant compliant at all. We've got to make sure if merchants are contacted and we're switching merchants to the correct programs, it's got to be done at the pricing level. That's what the card brands want to see. So I want to clear some of that up, because obviously we started with the dual pricing devices as really creating a better customer experience. And initially it's like, well, this is what we need for merchants to be compliant. That's not the case. It does create a much better experience, but when we're talking compliance, got to be done at the menus at the pricing level.
Yep. And at this point, things are evolving that's getting easier. I know several of our partners are helping build the menus. They're helping create, but we now have systems like Greta that does digital shelf tags. Makes life easier. Yep. If you would say that. We have systems. Just announced QuickSign, which does digital signage for their digital boards. So that you can show both prices right on the. So in a QSR month, there are things are evolving and making that even easier. So you don't have to say, because we understand the liquor store owner looks at you and says, "What, you want me to relabel what?" And there are things to work through that and to make sure and to realize that this is just getting easier. But we're also we're also not putting out bells. We're not seeing hundreds of these letters. We're just seeing a handful of them. And we want you to be aware. And we want to make sure we're doing the best things we can do to move forward. And a couple questions, maybe people who joined late. I thought this was a good question to reiterate, Danny. Have we, you said this earlier when we talked about $1,000 fine. Are they able to fight it, and are they able to win to not have that $1,000 fine?
Yeah. We've seen a good chunk of merchants that have not been charged the $1,000 fine. I do see ET. I see you saying that North is directly charging the $1,000 while other processors are just giving them a warning. I can validate and verify for you that is 100% incorrect. That Visa is charging the $1,000 if and when to anybody. I've talked to many friends and people that we've done business with over the years with other companies, or just acquaintances in the industry that we've met at trade shows. That I know for a fact that this is not just happening on our end, the $1,000 and everybody's still getting a warning. Visa's doing an initial $1,000 fine on first contact. It's at their discretion, right? If they want to charge it or not. So if there's other ISOs or other companies that you're saying that are just issuing it as a warning, perhaps that company is absorbing it. I'd find that hard to believe, depending on the size of merchants, and there's obviously a lot of variables with that too. So there's a lot of things going around right now as this starts to become more of a conversation, since we're seeing this a little bit more. And so I think we're going to see this level out a little bit too. But this isn't just us, right? This is happening all over the industry, and for merchants that are not set up correctly. I see somebody else too that your merchant was contacted. How do they fight it if they weren't doing it? That's absolutely something that they can do. We've actually got one right now that wasn't even doing a program and was contacted for a violation of surcharging. So there's things like this, guys, that violations happen all the time. They've been happening for years, even before we started doing these programs. We're just hearing about it a little bit more as these programs start to get defined, depending on how we implemented it. So we're going to be able to help you guys regardless of the scenario. We just want you all to be a little bit more educated, know this is out there, give you some ideas of how you might be able to approach your current merchants, and then anything else, our team is here to help you and work through any situation that you got.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, step one, anything happens in a letter, anything, everybody's asking for examples, just reach out to your relationship manager. They're going to be able to help you and be the first lines of support and defense. And we're here for you. We've got your back. And if you want to see examples of these letters, it's the same thing. Reach out to partners at PayProTec.com. We'll make sure they have these de-identified. We're not going to post these. So I think about, I don't want to, I'm not going to post these letters in case somebody finds them on a public web. There's just people get scared and stuff, because we're not trying to we're putting this out here just to say, hey, this is what's happening, and we're walking through, and we know right now there's probably a merchant every day going through and thinking, hey, I can do this better, and not following the rules that you guys set up and the compliance that we've taught you and that you're teaching your merchants. And they're, saying, hey, I'm going to take this in my own hands. And they throw a sign on the door, or they start doing 6% instead of 4%. Or they do all kinds of things. We've seen it all. And we're here to help and make sure we walk through those. We'll take last questions, but Danny, I mean, ultimately what we're trying to do here today is give encouragement that I love it. It's rule number 1, don't panic. And I know what happens. It's so easy to say that. So hopefully when we've walked you through a bit of a more, you don't have to live worried and stressed and in anxiety. You can just go, hey, if this happens, I've got people that have my back. We're going to get through it.
Yeah. Preparation is key, right? We got to know, what's going to come and kind of prepare for it. Let's get knowledgeable on the topic, whether you have to use it or not, right? That's the biggest thing is know your options. Know what you feel comfortable selling, obviously. What's also going to hopefully help you maintain the same margins that you are today. But, merchants, what I've found, guys, and all of us are salespeople on this call, this is our income, right? And we feel that it's potentially going to be impacted by a merchant receiving this. And you're not wrong by thinking that. But a lot of the panic comes from us as salespeople, not even necessarily the merchant. So I think in our shoes, if we can kind of maintain, the don't panic and be prepared for it, that's obviously going to help us work through it much easier. Knowing it's going to come and expecting it to come as opposed to hoping it doesn't, I think it's better to expect it, right? So let's prepare. Let's just be educated on it and know what options we have so we can help merchants fix it if they were to happen to come across anything.
Yep. And each one is unique. We'll deal with it as it comes. Like I see one of the people has asked about, how do they fight it? It's the first thing is respond and loop us in quickly, and don't just wait and think it's going to go away. And the one time we saw a merchant do that, they just kept ignoring letter after letter after letter. Then suddenly Visa just gets cantankerous, and we don't want that. Just respond and start right away, and things go. We can move forward, and each one is different because we got to identify a lot. Are they doing something they need to correct? Do they need to change something, or are they an interchange plus customer? And we have absolutely no idea why this was brought up. We're going to put that. We'll do that too. So we'll figure all those pieces out.
Yeah, I see another question here. ET still saying other processors doing it differently. That's fine. I'm not sure if you've done business with all other processors. I've worked with a lot of people at other processors and know differently, but. Again, I mean, everybody could be doing it differently. Not to say there's some out there that are absorbing it. I know this is coming from Visa. Restaurant Talk podcast. Do they have to register differently if they do it as dual pricing or cash discount? So let's be clear. There's no registration required for dual pricing or cash discounting. Registration's only required by MasterCard, Discover, and American Express if they want a true surcharge. So if they want to do a true dual pricing or a true cash discount where they're showing the high price and offering a discount for cash paying customers, there's no registration required. They just got to make sure they're doing pricing correctly in their menus.
Yep. So I think basically at the end of the day, this is always just, hey, we're going to keep moving forward. We have a lot of happy merchants, just a few handful that occasionally have gotten these letters, and we're going to respond to them. But if Visa wants to send more of them, we're going to keep responding, and we're going to keep you empowered and make sure you know what's happening. That's what we're trying to make sure all of our partners are doing that. And because we don't agree with the way Visa handles it. They know that. We don't understand it a lot of times, but Visa is Visa and PayProTec is PayProTec, and we have to live together. Because the threat that Visa likes to throw out, we'll just turn off your visas. You can't accept visas anymore. Well, that's not how we play. We can't do that. So we got to play in this field and work together. I think we'll do if there are any other questions, Danny, what should people do if they have more questions?
Reach out to partners at PayProTec.com. Reach out to me. Reach out to Jason Lee Cook, Jen Sales, Pamela Bailey, Brian Linke, Mike Stetzel. You know the team. Luke Uzdigian, Michael Thomas. You know all of us, right? All of us are educated on the topic. We know how to help you guys. If you come across any unique scenarios, you just kind of want to talk through some different options for your portfolio, let us help you.
Yep. We're here to help. We'll keep you. There's so much content, and we're going to continue to put even more out there. We're so glad you watched. Danny, let's leave it on something more positive. We're going to be in Orlando, Florida here in 2 weeks from, or not 2 weeks, 3 weeks from today. I have way too much work to get. Don't go too fast. 3 weeks from today, we will be. So it's 3 weeks from yesterday. 3 weeks from tomorrow, or Wednesday, we will be doing our field training. For those partners we've had a lot of partners who are coming and joining us. We got a whole block of rooms that people have filled, but there's still time to come and hang out with us. Why should they come to Orlando, Florida and come hang out with the PayProTec team at the fuel event on the 4th? And we'll be over at SEA. Why come to Orlando this year?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, it's in Orlando. So if you're, if you hate sunny weather, and you don't like fun, then I guess stay home. I think Josh and Nate, you guys put together a lot of really funny stuff in one of the previous communications about that. But our whole team's going to be there. We're going to have a lot of people there. I think this is one of the first times we've done like a fuel type of event. Nate, how long has it been?
2019. That's been a while. That's been a few years, Danny.
Most of our get-togethers have been fun. Cocktail parties and just partner meetups in general, right? Which we love doing, but really kind of informal and just getting connected, rubbing shoulders with each other and having conversations and getting to know each other a little bit more. So this is going to be a little bit more structured. We're going to learn a little bit more. I'm sure what we've talked about today will be discussed as well. But we're a lot of us too are bringing our families. So PayProTec, as all of you know, we're one big family. So we love our partners. We love the relationships we have with you. A lot of our partners are going to be bringing their families too, and we're all going to be able to see each other and meet each other in that type of area as well. So really looking forward to seeing any of you that can make it. I know a lot of you have signed up already. So it's going to be a good time with all of us.
All right. On behalf of Danny Shard, I'm Nate Manahan. We want to see you. If you want to sign up for Orlando, June 2nd through 4th. June 4th is the fuel event. You just go to join.payprotec.com and all the information is there. You can email me if you have more questions, but we are so glad that you joined us today, and we can't wait to see people in person here in just 3 weeks. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.